trend going into today. So if you go back to Thursday and Friday, yeah, we talked about it. All the major indices were down approximately 3% over that 2-day period. The NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Dow all down about 3%. But on Monday, wow, a much different story. And suddenly we had this big surge. And when I say big surge, how about this? The Dow was up 600 points yesterday. Absolutely extraordinary day. That's about 1.9%. The NASDAQ, on the other hand, was up 400 points. That's about 3%. S&P up about 90 points. That's about 2.4%. So you can see what I'm talking about here. All the three major indices definitely moving to the upside. We see a little bit of a extra push from the NASDAQ, which a lot of people are expecting because they continue to look at a lot of what's going on in the NASDAQ, and it's biotech and obviously semiconductors and it's technology. So when you're looking at the NASDAQ, it certainly does compose that. Now, some of the leadership that we had yesterday was energy. Energy was definitely strong early on. It gave back a little bit of that strength, but other of the major sectors started to pull back and then started to rise as well and feed into that whole thing. So technology up about 3%. Biotech up about 2.5%. We also had the SMH. You talk about the semiconductors. That was up about 3%. So you get the sense of what we were seeing here. Now, I talked about energy. That was up about 2.5%. It was up over 4% early on. And those beta names certainly did go to the upside. Just take a look at where the XOP gives you a little bit of an idea. That's gone from 80 to 85 in just a very, very short period of time, just a couple of days. So materials, industrials, everything seemed to be kind of kicking in yesterday in terms of all the major sectors. Now, the volatility index, on the other hand, 23 to 25 yesterday, a relatively tight range, understandably so. We talked about VIX getting up and above 31 just last week. Well, here we are now trading a lot closer to 23. The volumes, that's the one thing that stood out for me, that a little bit of a head scratcher. The volumes did pull back. Now, they're monstrous volumes in any other circumstance, but 38 million contracts trading yesterday. Now, you've heard me talk about Thursday, Friday, and some of those unbelievable numbers we were talking about there, 49.5 million, 48 million contracts. So significant pullback just from those couple of days last week as we now kick off March. And obviously kicked off March yesterday. We kick it off today. We kick it off today with some earnings. And we just got to highlight this. Target, you absolutely have to look at how they crush the numbers. Now, the stock's not reacting quite like you might expect. You might expect to see after the numbers they put up, the stock maybe to be up 4 or 5% or something like that. It was up a little bit earlier, and now it started to pull back. Of course, the markets are starting to pull back significantly as well. We started off the day with the Dow up about 30, but the NASDAQ was down a little bit. And then the Dow was up about 60, and the NASDAQ was down a little bit more. And then as we came on just now, we started to move. The Dow actually slipped into the red, and now we were seeing, the last I looked, I was looking at the NASDAQ was trading down about 90 points. So that was starting to get hit relatively significantly. Now, the interesting thing was early on, nothing was moving up or down more than about 0.5% out of the major sectors. So a lot going on there. It started off a little bit slower. We're seeing a little bit of a cascade to the downside. We'll see if that continues as we get deeper into the day. We're only 1 hour into the day, and we've already seen a little bit of movement. But those target numbers, just to review that just really quick. Now, we've talked about this name time and time again. I did an interview yesterday, WCCO, which is a local radio station that broadcasts one of the biggest AM stations in the country. And we were talking about exactly this topic. Hey, what do they got about earnings? What about the stock? Stocks made this unbelievable move, and the stocks made a great move over multiple years under the leadership of who they've got right now, Brian Cornell, and that great team at Target. But the numbers just stand out. They absolutely crushed. Forget about the earnings and all the rest of that. How about digging in a little bit deeper? The comp sales, they were up 20.5%. They were looking for 17.5%. Gross margins were up 26.8%, looking for about 26, a little bit more than 26%. Digital sales up triple digits at 118%. They gained $9 billion worth of market share. So these numbers really do stand out. How about this? The drive up, the pickup, the online, all the same day, that's up 212%. The drive up alone, 500% year over year. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of they are hitting the ball out of the park, and they're doing the things that you would have hoped that they'd be able to execute on, And they are. So it's really a testament to how they've done, not just during the pandemic, but coming out of the pandemic and holding on, getting those sticky customers to stick and stay with Target. And obviously we're seeing a lot of that, especially when you look at some of these numbers that I just brought up there. So Zoom was a little bit higher, Moderna was a little bit lower. Cruise ships were a little bit higher. Semiconductors are a little bit lower. Well, that was exactly what the markets were kind of looking like when we were looking at the NASDAQ getting pulled down a little bit, and early on, the Dow was looking pretty solid. So, a couple of unusual, we're going to get the heck out of here. I will be on tomorrow on the halftime report. I don't know, you know, it's interesting. I'm shocked that usually we, with names that some of us specifically have big positions in, a lot of the time they've had us on for those specific days and all that kind of thing, especially if we've talked about it, whether it's good or bad. They get an opportunity to slap us around a little bit. But I'm not on today, so you will see me on tomorrow on the halftime report. So Ford stock was trading right around 1230. By the way, if you want to, take a look real quick at the chart of Ford, because if you haven't looked at it in a while, that looks really, really intriguing, because that looks like that lower left moving to the upper right, and it's definitely on that kind of a trajectory. But the buyer of 10,000 of March 12th expiring, so you get 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, 10,000 of those, the 12 and a half stock, as I said, was 1230, so it's basically right at the money calls. They're only going for 16 to 38 cents. So 2 weeks and looking to see if Ford can make that kind of a move to blow through this 12 and a half level and maybe make a move higher than it is right now. You take a look at that chart, and it has been on an absolute run, a sprint of late for sure. Now, sticking with cars, why not? How about Fisker, FSR? So the buyers started when the stock was around 28. They continued to buy until the stock was a little close to, call it 30.20. So stock's 30.20. We had a buyer of 7,800 of the March 5, that's this Friday, expiring calls, the 30 strike calls. They started off playing about $1.25, but as the stock started to move, they had to pay a little bit more. Started out at $1.25, they paid all the way up to $2.20 for Fisker. Now, this is a name that's absolutely skyrocketed as well. We talk about a lot of the names in the EV space. Hopefully, you got a chance to watch yesterday, ARK Invest. We had a great conversation with one of the big dogs over at the company there, who really is the portfolio manager, does an amazing job. He was amazing yesterday, how he covered so much in such a quick period of time with us at the Market Rebellion. And if you get a chance, you can go back and take a look at that. We actually have that archived as well, so you're going to want to take a look at that. Folks, knowledge is king. You really want to know what's going on in the derivatives markets. We talk about it all the time. That's where the growth is. This is the place to be, and that's why we love it, and that's why we're so excited for each and every day. I'm excited for today. I can't wait to get back at it. Hope you have a great day of trading as well, and we'll see you tomorrow at the Take at 9:30 Central Time, and then you'll see me on the halftime report as well later on, close to noon on Eastern.